Hey, welcome back, you guys. I'm just doing a voiceover because I lost some footage of changing the torque converter. So I changed the 16.0 PTC converter and swapped it out for an 18.0 that I found used on Marketplace so I wouldn't have any downtime, and I can send the other one out for restall after I get some data. All right, we're back in the lab again. Got the front coilovers back from AFCO, and I am just going over some of my instant center stuff. I was looking at the videos again from the last race, and you can tell that when I'm bumping in, the rear coilovers bottom out on the bump stop, which is obviously changing my geometry right before launch. I'll put a little clip of that in right now so you guys see what I'm talking about. So obviously that bumping in and whatever is disrupting it just enough to sit the coilovers all the way down, and that is making my lower bar more in a squat position and the upper bar more in an anti-squat position. But either way, it's kind of hard to calculate what my instant center and anti-squat percentage might be when it's doing that. Unless I maybe put sandbags in the trunk or something and try it right here in the shop. But I think what I'm going to do to combat that is I've got a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to change for the no prep race. After messing with the calculator online, I think I'm going to raise the front up about an inch and a quarter to get the crank center line height a little higher, so my center of gravity is a little higher. And when you raise the that, what is it, the center of gravity, it actually lowers your anti-squat value. So I'm going to use that to combat a lower bar change on the rear, so that's not such a huge change all at once. I'm going to drop the lower bar on the axle one hole, and then also raise the front of the car up, so you kind of get like a blend of both, only adding up to a little bit higher anti-squat value. And I'm also going to try running the compression adjustment on the rear at full tight and see if it will combat that when I bump in, that it's fully compressing. And if it doesn't, then I'm gonna send the rears out to be revalved, because I think another thing too that's happening is when the car separates, I need some more compression valving to help hold it up going down the track so that it doesn't settle so quickly. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, you guys. Another thing I noticed was on the launch, on the driver's side it's separating, and on the passenger side it's not. It's not really squatting though either, it's just not separating initially. It does further out down the track, which is good. And I think that might be that I have kind of a small, it's like a 1-inch anti-roll bar tube. It's thick wall, but it's only 1 inch. And I think, you know, for the weight of this car and the power, I probably need like 1.5 inches or something larger for an anti-roll bar diameter tube. But we're gonna have to work with what we got for now. So I think by giving the bar angle a little bit more aggressive for anti-squat in the rear, it's gonna help that passenger side plant the tire. And by raising the center of gravity up a little bit, it won't be such a huge change, and we'll be able to see if we're moving in the right direction. So I'm gonna get those coilovers assembled, try to get the nose of the car up 1.25 inches, and then replot the rear with the tape on the floor and see where we're at. All right, guys, I'm going to recap what I did yesterday on Ron Burgundy to get the car ready for no prep racing on Saturday. We'll start at the front and we'll work our way back. I made a bunch of changes. The first being, I got the coilovers installed on the front again, and I raised the front of the car up about an inch. That was just to get the center of gravity a little bit higher, so that it would rotate a little bit easier, transfer weight a little better. And yeah, I think it looks a lot better too like this. I probably will just leave it like this because the front was so low before. The other thing I did was I put it on the scales, and this side I gave 2 more turns of compression, not on the shock dampening, but actually on the spring collar to raise it, because the car was sitting so low on the driver's side. Not wicked low, but enough to where you could tell, like, you know, it was just not level. And when I did that, it put a little bit more weight on the right rear, so I evened out the weights on the rear and got the car to sit level. I did do that, the scaling, with my body weight in there and bags of wood pellets to simulate me being in there. And I also neutraled the anti-roll bar, so there's no binding in that. I can tell too right away that these front coilovers are good now, like for this setup. Like, I have a lot of adjustment now, and I can actually see it making changes. Like going from 8 from full tight on rebound to 10, like I can lift the car up from the radiator support on when it's on the ground on 10, and then on 8 it won't really move, which is, you know, kind of a stupid test probably, but I can tell it's going to be, now they're in the ballpark they need to be in for valving. Also whipped up this intake tube for the turbo because my compressor wheel was getting chewed up kind of pretty bad. I only have 11 passes on the car, and it definitely has some nicks on the wheel. And I think that that's just from not having a wheel well liner, and it's just kicking dirt up all the time and going in there when I'm going down the track. So I just made this 5-inch aluminum tube. I got to get some clamps for the coupler, but yeah, I'm gonna have to move my working headlight from the outside. That one was working, and the outside one over there is working, but these 2 inside ones are fake. So I'll have to put the real glass ones on the inside now, so I have 2 headlights in the front, but that's minor. Let me see, what else did I get done? Oh, I did do the line lock, an input for the line lock. So when the line lock is powered, the I/O module can see it, and I set up an advanced table in the Holley to pull coil dwell based on a certain RPM, and I tested it at 2500 RPM. It works perfect. So that will be my burnout rev limiter, so I can just stay flat foot and drive through it instead of pinging off of a 8100 main rev limiter, which I was just, you guys know, I was just hesitant about doing that. So I guess I'll lift up the car now and I'll show you what we did on the rear. All right, so before I show you under the car, I'm going to show you a little clip of another video that was in a prior episode of what the coilovers were doing during a pass. Okay, so as you can see, when I'm bumping into the lights, into the second stage light, the coilovers are almost, I mean, they're pretty much bottoming out. They are compressing but not extending back. And that's because I don't have enough compression valving in the coilover to overcome the bounce from bumping in. But I do have enough rebound tightness to where when it does compress, it can't come back out right away. It can't extend right away. So obviously I need to revalve basically in the rear is the real fix for that. But I don't have time before Saturday's race. So what I did was I ended up running the collar up 3/4 of an inch on the shock body, on the coilover body, and dropping the mount down 3/4 of an inch, just one hole. So my spring now is storing more energy, and it's a lot tighter. It doesn't compress as much now. But we still have the same ride height because I was able to lower one hole. So that, I think, will combat the coilover from bottoming out and changing my bar angles right before launch. The only downside is I lose about an inch or an inch and a half of separation maximum. So there's a possibility that I could overextend and top out the shock, which hopefully isn't going to happen, but we won't really know until we find out. Because usually when that happens, when you top the shock out, you spin. You know what I mean? As soon as you lose suspension travel, it kind of hits the tire and spins. So another thing that we did was I made a bar angle change. Now this is kind of a stupid thing that I did. I had plotted my anti-squat and instant center and all that before with the idea that this bottom bar was in this hole. And foolishly, I never moved it from the top hole. So all the races I've done this year, I had a different anti-squat value than I thought I had. Basically, the car was like 99% anti-squat. So that's 1% in the squat, side of it. So that's why I think if you look at some of my videos, the passenger side pretty much stays neutral. If anything, it might squat a little bit, and the driver's side separates a little. And I think that I was riding so close to that neutral line on the anti-squat line that just the natural way that the axle gets torqued, it was doing one side one way and the other side the opposite way. Which is good because, I think the cars should be a lot faster than it is for 60 foot times. So now that I have the bar angle where it needs to be, we are about 115%, 120% anti-squat now. So the car should separate more. It's going to hit the tire a little bit harder, but I can control that, I think, with my extension settings on the coilovers and ignition timing retard off the launch. This is all hypothetical, of course, it's all trial and error, but that's what we're going to try. I think that's it. That's my changes I made. Went from the top hole to the second one down. We did not move the upper bar angle. That's the same. Coilovers I moved. So yeah. Oh, and obviously I changed that torque converter. So we got a few changes going on. Different torque converter, different anti-squat value, different bar angle. Moved the coilovers in the rear, tightened the springs in the rear, raised the front. We're trying to get ready for no prep, man. No prep craziness. Hopefully we get first round on Saturday is eliminations. Like there's no trial, no qualifying. First round eliminations off the trailers. So I've been thinking about calling somebody out just so I can kind of pick my poison, but I don't know. Everybody's kind of crickets, so I don't want to be that guy. But we'll do our best. I'm gonna go Friday night. I don't think I'm gonna race Friday night, but I'm gonna go and watch and see if there's a couple guys that are gonna be competing on Saturday there on Friday for testing. see how the track looks, see how it feels, and just make up my best guess stab at a tune for Saturday, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you guys in the next episode at the no prep race. Pretty exciting stuff.